Hello. So today we're using succulent. So where is my picture of my succulents? Well, I have a picture around here somewhere. And well, might as well just get started on this. What you have to do is you take your picture, you take a pencil, and we are going to be putting down a layer of pencil all the way on the back. So I'm going to change the sharing here so you can see what's happening. Here we go. Camera 2. Okay. So what you're going to be doing is going to be putting a nice dark layer on the bottom here. You know what? I should have my... You guys probably can't even hear me because I don't have this on. Hello, much better. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm putting down a nice layer of pencil. And then wherever my design is, I should have pencil. So there should be a sharpener in your box. And the succulent, I have done the succulent probably about 4 times. Every time I do it, it comes out looking different. So I'm just telling you, this is just a guideline and it'll help you, we'll just go step by step through it. But I got to tell you, everyone's is going to turn out differently. So don't be upset if it doesn't look like the picture. Yours will probably look better than the picture, because I got to tell you, first time I did it, it was very blue. Another time I did it, it just seemed too green, but whatever, it's whatever colors you like and whatever colors you want to use. And I'll be sure to tell you, which ones to use. So I hold it up to the light and cool. All right, the paper we are using is going to be fancy schmancy. I think we're going to be using 140 pound. That will work great. And get it out of here. This is Arches 140 pound. I like it. There's a smooth side and a rough side. I'm probably going to use the rough side. And then the rough side will be up. And then I put a little sign there so you know the difference between the top and the bottom. Just so that when we go about painting it, then that way, because it'll be easier to be able to see which is the top and which is the bottom. So I put a piece of tape up top. I have the tape on it's special tape. It's artist tape, and it hopefully won't rip your paper. And what I should have told you to do before we get started is to take one of your bigger brushes, clean it off. You'll need a couple glasses of water, of course, and you'll also need a paper towel. So what I'm going to do is I'll back up a little bit here so you can see what's happening. I'm going to put a little bit of water, just drip it a little on to get it reconstituted. And that's what you'll be using. And there, I'm going to leave that for now. And then I'm going to take you may have a red pen or maybe a different color, but I'm going to use a ballpoint pen. And now I'm going to go around all of the markings. You, of course, can skip ahead for the people that already know how to do this. But what happens is if I don't move my paper, keep it just where it's supposed to be, and go over all the lines, then what's happening is there's going to be a transfer. So I'll show you. I'll zoom in here so you can see that there's a transfer. Okay, so I'm going to put this on pause for now and resume recording in a little while. Okay,
So I'm done, and I'm going to move that out of the way. And now I've got my 2 glasses of water nearby, and I don't need my pen anymore, or my pencil for that matter. And now I've got the drawing in front of me that I gave you, just so that I can see what, kind of how to put the extra color and all that other stuff. So the first time I did it, I made it way too dark, but maybe you like that color. I just went a little wild, I guess. And then I did it again, bigger, and this is the one that the size that you guys have. And it's quite a bit darker than the actual painting that I showed, but I just can't get it that light. If you can get it lighter and you like it that way, go for it. But I do like all the different colors that I ended up getting there. Okay, so starting with your eraser. There should be an eraser in there that kind of looks like a piece of gum. And I just kind of squish it around a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is erase it just a little bit. Um, Actually, most of these will be, I can either dab it or I can roll it. You don't want to mess up the paper by rubbing it too hard, but there we go. Get that. Because sometimes I just don't want the lines to be too dark. So I roll it around a little bit, and that's how we get it started. And then that can go back in the box. Problem is, when I'm teaching this class, I really should leave the lines in because you can't really see what I'm doing very well. So I'm going to try as hard as I can to make it so that you can see, you can see what I'm doing. All right, so today we were probably going to be using a medium-sized brush, 6, 8, or 10. It just depends. This is an 8, and yet in some places this would be a 6. It just is a medium brush. Now, clean it off because you never know where it's been. Like this one's yellow. I just cleaned it off, but I noticed that it had some yellow on it, so you want to make sure it's clean. And that's why I have the paper towel to control water and stuff like that. All right. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to do petal by petal. And remember, we can't do petals that are touching. So we're going to start on the outside. We'll start, since I kind of go by these 2 little green ones here. Well, eventually they'll be green. We're going to start with this one right here. Okay. I'm going to put down sort of a light blue on most of them. So that is kind of what I'm doing. Because the blue is sort of the background color, and then we add the purples and the greens and whatnot. So I'm going to start with getting my paints ready. Now, one thing, we don't normally paint right from this thing. So if you could move some of your color over, it just makes it so that later on, if we need to mix some colors with it, then we're not destroying that stuff there. Okay. All right. Another one that we'll be getting ready is what color is this? I think it's Pink Lake, is it called? I'm going to have to look it up and see what it's called. Purple Lake. That's it, Purple Lake, even though it's not really purpley at all. And then the other one we have over here is Payne's Gray. And if we ever need to darken something, we can put a little of that in there. And then we're going to be using the green as well. This here's Sap Green. Okay, cool. Get a little extra water in there, and we will be painting from these. and not the actual pod. Okay. What are we going to do to begin with? Well, let's begin with this leaf right here. I see there's a little bit of green on the outside and there's blue. So I think to begin with, we're going to get it wet. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of blue. I'm going to go in there and you'll see how it just runs. It's awesome. Just goes crazy. Okay. And I actually want to keep it fairly light. So I took off some of the color and I'm just kind of moving it around a little bit. Rinse off my brush, and sometimes I go backwards. Sometimes if I know I'm going to be putting in some color in different areas, I still want to keep it wet, but I am going to push that color back a little bit. Where I want it darkest is right here in the crease. That's where I want it. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at it right now. I'm going to take a little bit of the purple and go in here because I'm looking at the edge here and I see coming up here like that, there's a little bit of purple. Kind of looks pinky actually. So I'm going to take my blue, take some of my blue, and then take some of my purple lake, it's called, or whatever color it is. Mush that blob. Ah, now I have a nice purple. I was thinking that pink was just a little too pink. So now I'm going to go in there again and put that purple in there. Okay, and then put a little over here. I noticed there was some. And then I just noticed there was a little bit in here as well. Oh yeah, that's about all I'm doing. Maybe a little swipe. Clean off my brush. And now I'm going to move this around a little bit. There. So I've got my darker blue down below. I've got my purplish going on there. And eventually I'll get a little bit of green in there too. Okay. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my green. And I'm going to just do it on the very, very outside. And just tip it on there. Okay. I don't want it to get too bleedy. I don't want it to bleed in there because then it'll get all kind of yucky colored. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen if too much gets in there. Okay. All right. Do I have any more green? No, it's just a nice little bit of green right there. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. Maybe a little more. There. All right. Moving on to the next one. So I can't do anything around it. I'm going to do this big guy right here. So I'm going to pre-wet it. I'm actually going to leave the edges. So I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I think that'll keep it. It'll make it easier for me to put in the green when I'm ready to do it. So, all right. Now what color do I see? Well, I'm going to put a little bit of blue in right up here. And then I see blue up here. Yeah. And I do see quite a bit of green and some purple. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in kind of lightly. There we go, because that's sort of the base color there. So I do want to get the blue in. All right. And now I'm going to do a little bit of that purple that I mixed up. And I'm going to do a little dash in there. And where else am I going to do it? Oh, I see a little bit down here. And I do see that it comes up. And yeah, that's pretty much where it is. Rinse off my brush, clean it off, and then just soften the edges all over the place. That's what I'm doing. Okay. All right. Now, what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a little bit of my green. I'm going to soften this green a little bit more. I just feel like it was looking kind of goofy. Sometimes if you go in with a damp brush, you can just sort of make things not look quite so harsh. And I did want to soften this a little bit too. You can't always go in and fuddle with stuff, but if you see something while it's still wet, then you can go for it. Okay, so now this part up here is the green. Just going to go in and I'm going to very, very carefully get the edge that wasn't actually wet. You know, it's just the plain green part. And going in there. Okay. And now I'm going to get my brush cleaned off and I'm going to go in and kind of meld it in there a little bit. Let's see if that'll work. I'm hoping that it won't disappear. I just want a little bit of green in there. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll see. I would like it to be a little lighter right in that area. So I am going to tap in some water and try and see if I can lighten it. I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if I can't stand the color or I think something's wrong, I can always go back in and add a little bit more color. I think that's what I'm going to do because I don't like what's going on there. And soften it up a little bit. All right, good enough. Good enough. Sometimes I even like to drop a little water in there and see what happens. Okay, it's looking a little psychedelic. I don't know if I'm thrilled with it, but that's all right. Moving right along. What color can I do now? Now I can do this one right here. And I do notice that this one is mostly, I don't see any purple in it at all. I'm getting it wet and I see the blue. So I am going to put the blue in on this side. And then looking over here, what do I see? I see blue against here. That still looks good. Right there. I see a little bit coming up. But then, let's see. I think I want to get that green in there. I think that'll look pretty. I'm just looking at the original picture, the one that I had on Facebook, and Novato in the know. Oops. Ooh. Here we go. Gonna go in there. It does change the color of it a little bit. So I'm going to go in and soften it up a little bit and pull out some. I don't want it to be quite that dark. Like I'm trying really hard with this one to keep it lighter. So we'll see if it works. I tend to paint very dark and I want to try and get away from that. All right. So now not this one, but this one. So that one's got a lot of purple in it. Holy smokes. Man, this one's mostly purple. So I am still going to put the blue in there though, because I've kind of got that underneath just a little bit. But now I'm going to get that purple going. Okay. All right. So let's get that darker purple going in right in here. And then even a little bit of that pink or yellow, purple. Oh, I guess that'll look pretty right in there. Okay. So when I move this around a little bit, it's really going to make the whole thing purple. And I think it'll blend in nicely. I'm going to add a little bit more blue. Yeah, I think that looks really pretty. Ooh, dashing. I am going to pull up just a little bit, just a little bit. So it's not quite so dark, if I can help it. All right, I do notice that there's a dark bit right here. So I'm going to try and get it darker and even get a little bit more blue in there. Okay. Oh, perfect. All right, now where do we move on to? A little bit of a stripe here too. I noticed. Pick it up a little bit. Oh, with a little bit of water. All right, moving right along. Can't do this one. I mean, I could dry it, but why? We're just not going to do that one. I can't do that one. Can't do that one. I guess the only one left is this one right here. Okay, getting it wet. Okay. And now, let's see, we've got the darker blue there. So I am going to take a tiny bit of I'm going to make a little bit of darker blue. So I'm going to take a little bit of my Payne's gray and just get it darker, just a little bit darker right there, because I want this section right here to be darker. So I'm putting it in. And now I'm going to go and get a little bit of the lighter blue. I see a little bit of lighter blue up here. Still trying to keep it light though. So I'll add a little bit of water in there. Okay. And now I see some purple on the edge here. So I'm going to go with a little bit of this. And I do like seeing it at the tip there and bringing it down. There, that looks nice. Yeah, you kind of get a feel for it after a while. It's like, oh, okay, we're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, right? And now I'm cleaning off my brush and I'm getting some of that green. And there is quite a bit of green coming down right on the outside here. That'll look pretty. Okay. Sometimes what I like to do is take some water and just drop it and see what happens. Move it around a little bit. See what that just gives it a nice effect. Okay, so what other one can we do? Well, I could blow dry it and then I wouldn't have to worry. Or I could start working on the inside. This is the only one that I see I can do in this one and this one, but I can only do this one. So I think it's time for me to pause the video, pause my share, and blow dry it with a blow dryer. Okay, I'm back. All right. You'll notice that when you dry it, it does do some funky things. So don't worry about it. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the end. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to continue doing my green. So I'm gonna, because it seems like there's green mostly on the outside. I'm going to do this little guy and I'm going to do this guy. And it looks like I've got a lot of green in there. So Here goes. Because it's such a small area, I don't know if I'm going to really pre-wet it. I'm just going to go right in there and put some of the green in there. And then I'll just make it darker. So yeah, I'm painting it, that little area. And I noticed that there's, well, just a little bit, it's darker right here. So I guess I can get a little bit of, I'm going to get a little bit of purple and see what happens. Oh yeah, that looks gross. Never mind. Take that back up. Let's get that green and put a tiny bit of Payne's gray with it. That's what I need, not the purple, because that would make a different color. All right, tiny bit of Payne's gray makes it darker. And I like that. Okay. And now this one over here has the same dark green going on right there. And then it does have a tiny bit of blue, but I don't know if I'm going to put that in there. All right, a little bit of green. Oh yeah, I'm going to put a dash water on there just to lighten it up a little bit. And then here, so the inside looks darker, I'm going to push that in a little bit. Okay, so what's going on with this guy? Well, I know it's dark purple right here. And we got some blue. We got all sorts of stuff going on here. It's another psychedelic one. So here we go. Getting that wet. And putting in some blue right along this edge here. That'll look real pretty. Since it's dry, I can go right up to the edge. And then I'm going to put a little bit of darker purple right in there, because that's where it looks the darkest. And then I'm going to pull it up a little bit. And then I noticed that the dark purple goes along here and then comes up. All right, clean off my brush. Go in there, move it around a little bit. All right. And now I am actually going to push this guy back because I forgot I want to put some more green in there. So that looks good like that. Nice crisp edge with the other one. All right. I think I want to keep it a little lighter right here. Looks like a nice edge. Okay, and now let me get some of that green in there and put a nice little bit of green in there. Perfect. All right. Moving right along, I believe this one is the next one we're going to do. And this one I notice is my darkest green. So I'm going to get it wet, and my water's kind of dirty, so it looks like I've already got green on it. Okay, get my dark green in there. Okay, add a little bit of Payne's gray. There we go. So it does look very dark. And then I'm going to put a little bit of purple in there, just like that, and even a little bit of blue. Okay, going back in to get some more green. There, just getting it dark on the center and moving this around. Sometimes things get a little, well, they get mixed up and then I just lost my blue and everything, but I still think it's pretty. But I lost my color. It got muddy, but I like it. I like it because it's still sort of a greenish color. So ended up looking turquoisey. So I'm going to go in there. Well, I may have to wait until this dries and then do something else with it. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I mean, it's not so bad to have just green. I just thought maybe it would have a little bit more, just be a little bit more interesting. But sometimes that doesn't work. I just add a little bit more green. I'm gonna let that dry, see what happens. I can always go back and fix it. Now I can't do this one. Let's see. I'm just feeling it. Yeah, I can do this one right here. This one right here is mostly blue. And then I notice it does have a little bit of purple and a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of green. All right, so go ahead and do some blue right in there. Okay, and then go ahead and do, oops, went a little bit out of the lines. And now I'm going to go in and get a little bit of my wonderful purple color that I made. And I'm going to dab it in here and then let it run up a bit. All right, it is a little darker. I'm trying so hard not to paint dark. I guess I just love vibrant colors. And when I try and do pastel-y, I fall short. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and try and, I got to make that point look a little better. I took away the point when I went over. Okay, so how can I lighten it? Throw in some water and do a little lifting. Okay, and then put in a little more blue because I lifted too much out of the way. And I like it, but it's too dark. Turn it all. Okay, so lift it maybe. Lift it a little. I don't want to lift too much. Okay. I'm going to put a dab of water in there too to see what will happen. All right, so wet. What else is no? Is that one wet? Is that one wet? Oh, darn it, it's wet. Okay, I'm going to put this on pause and do a little. Okay, I'm back. I re-dried it up. So now I'm going to go with this guy. He's just got some beautiful blue in there, right in the corner. And I got a little smudge on mine because I touched it while it was still wet. Just use the back of your hand, and if it's still cold, then you know that it's wet. But put my finger right in it. All right, get a little blue there. Beautiful, beautiful. It's getting bluer and bluer as we get to the center. So I am gonna bring it up. And then the blue, I'll just do that. I'll kind of encase it with that purple. That's what I'll do. Come up like that, and then come up like that. Now, I'm going to have to get it. How am I going to do this? Okay. All right. How did I do that? Well, it's okay, but I think we've got animals outside. I can hear them moving around. Okay. So this is way too dark. So what I need to do is put on some water and do a little mop job. So that's what I'm doing. Going in there and picking it up. It's hard to do though, because I'm in between leaves or petals. So I do want to try and pick that up. I feel like this little part here is funky. All right, good enough. And put a little, I wonder if I can use white at the end to make areas look like they've got some light going on in them. All right, what else can I do? Oh, these are dry, of course. So I'm going to do Mr. Big Guy over here. And this guy will have a teeny bit of green on it because he's one of the guys on the outside. And I think the ones on the outside should have a little bit of green. I don't know why, but they should. Okay, blue. So I'm going to go ahead and do some blue in here. And the darkest part will be right at the V. So I'm going to go in there and add some dark blue. Okay. Now I notice that there's some purple on the outside right here. There we go. A little bit of purple. All right. And there's purple over here. It's such a pretty purple. Seems like it's different every time too, because, well, you're always mixing it and whatnot. Okay, so clean off my brush, dry it off a little bit, and then just kind of mush this around so that I have some coverage, but I don't want a lot. Let's see if this is working. That looks nice. And now I'm going to put a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of green in a minute. I'm just going to get a little bit more blue in there because that looks so pretty. Drag it up a little bit so it has somewhere to go. And maybe even a little bit of blue, purple right there. I like that. So many different colors. My gosh. And then at the very, very tip, I'm going to do a little bit of green. Oops, I don't want it to go too far. I just want it on the tip. All right, so now I'm going to dry it up one more time because then we're going to work on this one and then this one. We could probably do this one, but yeah, I'm going to have to dry it up again. So drying it up. Seems like I do that a lot. I'm back. Okay, so now what to do? It's all dry. And I'm wondering if I should start in the center or what I should do. I'm going to start with this petal right here. Okay. All right. So what do we have going on here besides my dirty water? Well, we have, but sometimes it's, okay. So again, we've got the blue the blue right in there like that. And then we've got a little bit of purple on the outside. Okay. Cleaning it off, going in there and making it a little lighter, dragging it around. Okay. It's nice to have different levels, so there's nothing wrong with dropping a little water on there too. All right, now we can do this one right here. Go ahead and put the water in there. And I'm going to put the blue, but I am going to add a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of Payne's Gray to make it a little darker, so that this area right here is dark. It'll really make the middle part pop out if I could put some dark in there. Now we'll go back to the blue part up here, lighter blue, and I'll put some purple in a minute. But I really want to try and get that darker part right there. So I am going to take a little bit more of it, mix up some darker blue, and get it in there. Ah, that's good. Make it pop out. See it popping it out. All right, now the outside is sort of that purpley color again. So I gotta mix up some more actually. I am running out. So got all sorts of stuff going on here. It's a different purple, but I like it. Hope it works. Yeah, I like that a lot. I am going to add a little bit of that pinky color though. There. Okay. Now this guy was just sitting here and he wasn't really moving around, so I got to get him to move. So I'm pushing him about just a little bit. It's like, come on, buddy, move around, do something. All right. So what can I work on now? Can't remember what I just did. Well, it feels dry enough. I'm going to try this guy right here. So again, the darkest part will have to be this little part right here. Looks like a little T. And then I'll get this wet a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go for that dark blue again. Almost looks turquoise. And now I'm going to go with that lighter blue. There. And now I'm going to do the little bit of purple on the outside. Oops. I think I got too much. You can tell when it starts to just go all over the place. Okay. There's that dark part. I still think this one part is just sitting there and I don't know why. It's kind of bugging me. All right, so I got that. And Now, I think I guess I could do the very, very center. Very, very center is kind of a dark green. It's almost like just a little bit there, kind of like what's on the outside. And then I think what I'm going to do is then do a little light blue around there. I just want it to look interesting. I don't even know what it is or what it's called, the little center area. And then so I'll just do a little bit of purple around here. Like I said, I don't know what it's called or what it is for that matter, but it just kind of goes round and round and just make it look like I know what I'm doing. There. I don't know about that. Boop. Okay. Sometimes you can go in with your paper towel and pick it up if you don't like what you're looking at. I could go in later with a thinner brush and wait till it's dry just to see if I can get some different sort of shapes in there. I don't know. I feel like I just need a little bit of something. I don't know what. Now it just looks like I've got a little weird green thing in the middle. Oh, well. Okay, so do I dry it up? I probably should, just to do the last couple petals. Yeah, I'm gonna dry it up. Okay, last petals. Here we go. Last leaves. It's all blue. It looks like it's blue, blue, blue to me. So I'm not gonna wet it. I'm gonna be a rebel and not wet it. And it almost looks like there's a piece that goes here and then the rest comes up. Well, just the whole thing. I guess I'll just put it in there as blue. But then I'll have to make parts of it darker. And there's almost, it looks like there's a very, very thin line that's not painted. I wonder if that's because it just goes up or what, or maybe they just, okay. All right, here it goes. I'm gonna pick up some, a little water in there, pick it up. Yeah, that looks pretty. Almost looks like a heart. Well, since I can do this one here because it's not touching anything. It's not touching the little heart that I made because the heart has a little bit of a protective barrier on it. So I can go in there and do this part right here. All right, looks like I've got a nice dark piece coming in here. There's that dark stuff again. The dark blue. Do I have any more left? Yeah, I have a little bit left. Dark blue. And then the lighter blue on the outside. Pick it up. There we go. And put a little dot of water on there to make some movement happen. I kind of went over the line. All right, last little bit would be this guy right here. It's funny, why didn't I wet the other one and now I'm wetting all these guys? I guess I'm just so accustomed to doing that. And in such a small area, do I really need to do it? I don't know about that. Okay, dark area. Dark, dark, dark. Darkest part ever right in here. Because it gets tighter maybe. It gets dark, dark, dark. I'll put a little bit over here too. I'm almost feel like I should just leave that. I like how it looks like that, but I have to do something else. Put a little bit of purple in there, something going on. So I'm going to go around the outside. This guy. And there. Ooh, it's nice not touching it because then it kept it dark. I didn't even touch it. A little white speck there I don't like. Okay, now what am I going to do with this little business? Continue with my dark stuff. And I could just go right in the center and make it even darker. So I took some of that Payne's gray and I thought, well, what if I did just go in and in and in? I did like a little curly. I don't know if that's what I should do, but why not? All right, now go in there. Problem is I don't know what to do with this little part right here. I am in a conundrum. Almost feel like we should now put in a little bit of purple or something. It's too dark. All right. So what to do with those little lines? A little bit of light blue. That's what I'm going to do. I ended up with light white lines there, and it's kind of bumming me out. So I'm filling them in. Well, here we go. Just make it so it's not quite so white. There. Ta-da! We are done. Oh my gosh, we are done. And of course, it didn't turn out very light, but I think it's still pretty. I could go in later if I wanted to and make things darker. I don't know. If you do decide to go in and make something darker, okay, I think it's really important to get the whole thing wet. Don't just do the part you're working on. Time for bed. Okay, that's it. Dun, 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 dun. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.